Welcome, everyone. This is the second meeting of the Rhode Island Ethics Commission for 2025. We have a quorum present. Yes, the first order of business is to call to order, which I've just done, and then we have a motion to approve the minutes of the open session held on January 7th, 2025. Do I hear a motion? Motion by Commissioner Lucy. So second by Commissioner Browner. Roll call vote. Commissioner Susie.
Aye.
Commissioner Strauss.
Abstain.
Commissioner Browner.
Aye.
Commissioner Centerini. Commissioner Harrison.
Abstain.
Commissioner Peterson. He's not here, sorry. Commissioner Ritchie. The next order of business today is the director's report.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
So just noting that we are live streaming. The live stream link is printed on our agenda. The entire open session will continue to be live streamed. And then when the commission goes briefly today into executive session, the live stream will end. I expect that executive session to just last a few minutes today, and then the commission will go back into open session. The live stream will open back up again, and the chair will report out any actions that were taken in executive session. The meeting materials are available on the website for download, including all of the advisory things that the commission is going to discuss today. So moving on then into briefly complaints and investigations. Right now we have 3 total complaints pending. We have 4, and one of them was resolved last week. So I want to tell you a little bit about that. That was the complaint for Michael Dowen, which was the financial disclosure complaint that the staff had initiated to close out the 2023 filing year. As you'll recall, with that complaint, Mr. Dowen, when we had served him with the complaint, we also served the prior fine schedule that goes out, adopted a new fine schedule, but under the prior fine schedule, Mr. Dowen could have informally resolved that complaint by filing his delinquent statement, signing a consent violation form, and paying $100 civil penalty. When we reached out to him immediately after receiving that complaint, he indicated that's exactly what he wanted to do, and he filed his delinquent financial disclosure complaint. But we were waiting and never received the consent to finding a violation in the check for $100. And at that point, we could not get back into contact with Mr. Dowen. And so as the weeks went on, we finally noticed it for adjudication, as you may recall. And then as that meeting came up for the adjudication, our investigators reached out to the staff at DVR, which is where his board was located, and were informed that he may have suffered a medical issue, which is why he hadn't been in contact with us. So we canceled that adjudication and postponed it, and still continued to try to reach out to him. And that's what we've been doing. Finally, last Friday, we were able to make contact with Mr. Dowen. He confirmed that indeed he had suffered a pretty serious issue, but he still wished to take advantage of that informal resolution that we had offered him in the beginning. And so I made a decision as your administrator that that was still on the table, given the circumstances. And so we were able to resolve that case with him finally filling out the consent violation and paying $100. So with that, that case is informally resolved under the old fine schedule. That'll be the last of those. And that also handles all of the 2023 financial disclosure matters. And we finished that year at 100% compliance. So with that aside, the other 3 matters, we have 2 that are getting ready for adjudication. I'll give you a little update in the Thorson complaint, which is awaiting adjudication. As you will recall, you had granted the respondent there the right to take some discovery and take a deposition of some of the key witnesses in that matter. These are out-of-state witnesses, which is always difficult to accomplish. There are some hurdles to make an out-of-state deposition happen. And I was in contact with the respondent's attorney last week and was informed that they've taken the necessary steps. They had to file a miscellaneous petition here in the Providence Superior Court to get that court to honor the subpoena that you issued. They're taking that now to the Pennsylvania Court of Common Pleas in Philadelphia to have it come out there. And so it's in the process, but it's moving a little bit slower than we would have liked. I'll keep you up to date. Finally, the last complaint that's pending for adjudication is Michael Colasante. That one, we are just looking to try to find an agreeable date with both sides to have the adjudication. At this point, with January almost over, I think it's probably looking like March. Moving on then to financial, are there any questions about the complaints? Moving on to financial disclosure. Well, I've already given you the update on the Michael Dowling complaint, so we really have nothing to add here. We're done with the 2023 year in preparing for the filing season. Advisory opinions, we have 9 advisory opinions pending currently. 6 of those are on today's agenda. 6 is a lot. I normally wouldn't put 6 advisory opinions on your agenda, especially if we have matters in executive session also. But since we didn't have executive session matters today, I thought 6 would be good. We need to get those done. APRA request, we only had 1 since the last meeting. It was completed in 1 business day, as we always try to do. It was from a journalist, and it related to getting copies of complaints and recordings of past commission meetings. We provided those. We can provide those electronically.
Are those available online as a matter of course?
Yes, all the recordings are available online. Sometimes, as are, a lot of times we get requests for things that they're online, but we direct them to online. But if they really want us to send them a copy by email, we'll do it. Finally, just in general office and administration matters, our next meeting is February 11th. And I think we're having Common Cause back on February 11th to provide us with a little bit more information in support of their petition for rulemaking. So we'll have that on the next meeting.
Jason, on that one, aren't they supposed to be submitting materials to us ahead of time?
Yes. So John Marion, the director of Common Cause, is here today, and I've already spoken with him about that, and we'll speak a little bit more later this week about getting that to you in time. And finally, unfortunately, the last thing I just want to note is you may have read obituary. I just want to report the death of former Ethics Commissioner Bill Harsh. For those of you who maybe knew Bill or didn't know Bill, Bill was a commissioner from 2008 to 2012. And just a real interesting guy who lived on Jamestown. Very accomplished guy who was a Republican, but he worked for the Carter administration. He was the first director of the DEM here in Rhode Island, helped to establish the DEM in the state. Ran for attorney general at times and did good work on the Ethics Commission. The real gentleman. So our condolences to his family, and I thank him for his service to Rhode Island.
I would second that, knowing Mr. Harsh.
And that's all I have for the director.
The next item on the agenda are advisory opinions. Is there a sign-in sheet? Thank you very much. The first sign-up is Craig Mitto, if I pronounced that right. Yes, you did.
Good morning, everyone. The draft for Mr. Comito is at tab E in your binders. Welcome, Mr. Comito. Petitioner is a member of the Tiverton Town Council. He was elected last November. Prior to his retirement at the end of 2023, he served as a member of Tiverton's fire department, where he had achieved the rank of captain. In his private capacity, the petitioner is an electrician who performs residential electrical work in Tiverton and surrounding areas for individuals and contractors. He seeks this advisory opinion to learn whether he is prohibited by the Code of Ethics from having his electrical work for clients in Tiverton inspected by the town's electrical inspector. The electrical inspector in Tiverton is appointed by the town administrator without the advice and consent of the town council. The electrical inspector's immediate supervisor is the town's building official, who is also hired by the town administrator, again, without the advice or consent of the town council. Compensation for the electrical inspector is in the form of a flat fee for residential inspections and a portion of the electrical permit fee for commercial inspection. The town's current electrical permit fees were established by the town council prior to the petitioner's election to the town council. The petitioner explains that these fees are job dependent rather. There is a base fee of $60 for a generic permit, and additional fees can accumulate based upon the nature of the electrical work to be done. Examples of additional fees are those associated with the wiring of electricity for a swimming pool or the number of electrical switches that are to be installed for a particular job. Mr. Comito currently has 2 clients in Tiverton who are awaiting electrical inspections of work that he has performed for them. He's installing a generator for one client and conducting an electrical service upgrade for another. The inspection procedure is as follows. After the petitioner pulls a permit for a particular job, the electrical inspector performs an initial inspection. After that, there's a rough inspection, eventually followed by a final inspection. Now, the petitioner is not always present during an inspection, and the electrical inspector's determinations are communicated through a portal to which the petitioner has access. All inspections are pass-fail. It is under this set of facts that the petitioner seeks guidance regarding whether he may contact the electrical inspector to perform the necessary inspections for each of the projects on which he is working for Tiverton residents. Looking to the Code of Ethics, a public official may not represent himself before the public agency of which he is a member, by which he is employed, or for which he is the appointing authority. Representing oneself means participating in the presentation of evidence or arguments before that agency for the purpose of influencing the judgment of that agency in one's favor. And absent an express finding by the Ethics Commission that a hardship exists, these prohibitions continue while the public official is in office and for a period of 1 year thereafter. The first thing to ascertain here is whether the petitioner is indeed looking to represent himself before a municipal agency of which he is a member, by which he is employed, or for which he is the appointing authority. If the answer is yes, then he will need to request a hardship exception in order to proceed. Mr. Comito, in his capacity as a town council member, is not the appointing authority for the town's electrical inspector. The hiring of the electrical inspector is the sole responsibility of the town administrator. Based on these facts, the petitioner is not seeking to represent himself before a municipal agency of which he is a member, by which he is employed, or for which he is the appointing authority. Accordingly, it is the opinion of staff that he is not prohibited by the Code of Ethics from contacting the electrical inspector to perform the inspections for each of the projects on which he is working. However, given the representation that the electrical permit fees are established by the town council and that the petitioner's clients, who are his business associates, could potentially be directly financially impacted by his participation in the town council's adjustment of the existing permit fees. If and when the subject of electrical permit fees comes before the town council and Mr. Comito is still a member, he is advised to either recuse from participation or come back to us and seek further guidance. I'm happy to answer any questions or to defer to Mr. Comito as appropriate.
Mr. Comito, you were given the advisory opinion, the draft advisory opinion before today. Yes, I was. And you had an opportunity to review it? Yes. You've had an opportunity to talk to Ms. Radicis? Oh, yes. Sorry. It's okay. You probably know her by her first name. Yes. Fair enough. We like that. You have no questions or concerns about it?
No, I don't. I think it's pretty cut and dry and, recusing myself, there's a fee process, it's pretty simple to me. The fees have not been adjusted since 2016 and I just have a list of all the different fees, but
Yeah. Any commissioners have any questions of Mr. Comito or Ms. Rodriguez? Is there a motion to approve and issue the advisory opinion as presented by the staff? So moved. Motion by Commissioner Ritchie, is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Centarini. Commissioner Susie?
Aye.
Commissioner Strauss?
Aye.
Commissioner Browner?
Aye.
Commissioner Centarini?
Aye.
Commissioner Harrison?
Aye.
Commissioner Ritchie?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Thank you, Mr. Commissioner.
Thank you for your time, and also sorry for your loss.
The next item on the sign-in sheet is Carlos Zambrano.
Morning, Commissioners. This advisory opinion is in the top D reminders. Mr. Zambrano is the IT director for the city of East Providence. He would like to attend a two-day cybersecurity summit in Atlanta, Georgia. The summit is organized by the Channel Company. The Channel Company has offered to pay all his expenses associated with attending the summit, which includes hotel stay, travel, meals, and participation in the summit series. Mrs. Zambrano represents that the Channel Company covers all the expenses for attendees of the summit, as long as they fulfill certain requirements and they agree to attend all the summit's sessions. He represents that he's attended that summit previously prior to his employment with the city of East Providence. He represents that the Channel Company has no relationship with the city of East Providence. The Channel Company is a global marketing firm focused on technology industry, with the petitioner describes as a hub for information and connection between IT vendors and end users. Mr. Zambrano represented that the Channel Company does not provide products or services that the city of East Providence utilizes or is expected to utilize in the future. The summit has sponsors, several sponsors, and one of those sponsors is CrowdStrike. The city of East Providence uses CrowdStrike antivirus program. The city purchases that program from a city vendor. Mr. Zambrano explains that the summit will assist him in his duties with the city because the summit includes information about the most current trends and threats to cybersecurity. He also represents that depending on the information they receive at that summit, he may in the future recommend that the city utilizes some of the products that the sponsors offer. However, at this time, he represents that this is hypothetical. Given this set of facts, Mr. Zambrano seeks guidance from the Ethics Commission regarding whether he may attend that summit with all expenses paid by the organizer, the Channel Company. The Code of Ethics contains the gift regulation. The gift regulation prohibits public officials and employees from accepting any gifts or other things having either a fair market value or actual cost greater than $25 or an aggregated value of $75 in any calendar year from an interested person. The code defines an interested person as a person or a representative of a person or a business that has a direct financial interest in a decision that the person subject to the code is authorized to make or participate in the making of. Because the petitioner is being offered items, hotel stay, travel, and so forth, that are valued well in excess of $25. Here we need to determine whether or not the offering party, the Channel Company, or any of the sponsors are considered Mr. Zambrano's considered an interested person as to Mr. Zambrano. The Ethics Commission has in prior advisory opinions identified vendors and businesses doing business with public officials who possess decision-making authority over them as interested persons. Here, the factors represented by the petitioner do not indicate that the channel company is an interested person as to Mr. Zambrano. He represented that the channel company has no affiliation with the city of Providence. They will not provide services or goods that the city currently utilizes or is expected to utilize. Therefore, it is the opinion of the staff that the channel company is not an interested person as to Mr. Zambrano. The petitioner states that the city utilizes CrowdStrike antivirus program. However, he represents that CrowdStrike is not the vendor to the city. It is a program or product that the city purchases from the city's vendor, which is not CrowdStrike. Here, based on this representation, it is the opinion of the staff that CrowdStrike is also not an interested person as to Mr. Zambrano. Finally, the petitioner represents that none of the other sponsors of the summit have business relationship with the city, and that any potential future business dealings with any of the sponsors based on the presentations of the summit are hypothetical at this time. Therefore, it is the opinion of the staff that the other sponsors are also not an interested person as to Mr. Zambrano. Therefore, accordingly, based on the petitioner's representations, review of the relevant provisions of the Code of Ethics and prior advisory opinions issued, it is the opinion of the staff that Mr. Zambrano may attend the cybersecurity summit with all expenses paid by the channel company. The petitioner also serves as a member of the City of Cranston Zoning Board of Review. And based on that, he would have, if he is to attend the summit with all expenses paid by the channel company, he would be required to declare the details of his out-of-state travel on the next year's financial disclosure statement. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have at this time.
Mr. Zambrano, you were given the advisory opinion, draft advisory opinion before today's hearing.
Yes, sir.
You've had an opportunity to review it.
Yes, sir.
Do you have any questions for Ms. Papa or for commission?
No, sir.
Commissioners have any questions?
Just one clarification,
Yes, sir.
you're the director of information technology for the city of East Providence.
Yes, sir.
You're a member of the Cranston zoning board.
Yes, sir.
God bless you.
All right, is there a motion? Is there a motion to approve and issue the advisory opinion as presented by the staff? Motion by Commissioner Browner, is there a second?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Luzzi, any further discussion? Roll call vote. Commissioner Susie?
Aye.
Commissioner Strauss? Aye. Commissioner Browner?
Aye.
Commissioner Centarini?
Aye.
Commissioner Harrison?
Aye.
Commissioner Ritchie?
Aye.
And chair votes aye. Thank you, Mr. Zimmer.
Thank you for your time.
The next item on the sign-in sheet is Nicole Renzulli.
Practicing the job. Ms. Renzulli is a member of the Cranston City Council. She was elected, she's a former member. She was elected in November of 2020 and served 2 consecutive terms until January 6th of 2025. She represents the mayor of Cranston, has offered her an appointment to the Cranston Planning Commission upon the expiration of the city council term. The petitioner states that the appointments do not require advice and consent of the city council and that pursuant to the Cranston City Charter, the members of the planning commission receive no financial benefit or compensation for their service. The petitioner would like to accept the appointment to that board, and she's asking if she may do so within 1 year of leaving her city council position. Pursuant to regulation 1.5.4, municipal elected officials are prohibited from seeking or accepting employment with any municipal agency in the same municipality while serving and for 1 year thereafter. Notably, the Ethics Commission has determined that that regulation requires determination or receipt of compensation for services rendered. Here, the petitioner states that the members of the Planning Commission do not receive any compensation. It's direct appointment by the mayor, no advice and consent of the city council. Accordingly, it is the opinion of the staff that Ms. Ranzulli may accept the appointment to the Creston Planning Commission upon the expiration or within 1 year of leaving office. Thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have at this time.
Ms. Renzulli, you had an opportunity to review the draft advisory opinion before you came here today.
Yes, I did.
Do you have any questions, concerns?
I do not.
Members of the commission, anyone have any questions or concerns they'd like to follow up with either Ms. Papa or Mr. Doolin? Do I hear a motion to approve and issue the advisory opinion as presented by the staff? Motion by Commissioner Ripley, is there a second?
Seconded.
Second by Commissioner Harrison. Roll call vote, Commissioner Susie.
Aye.
Commissioner Strauss.
Aye.
Commissioner Browner.
Aye.
Commissioner Centarini.
Aye.
Commissioner Harrison.
Aye.
Commissioner Ritchie.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next item on the sign-in sheet is Lauren Hill. Nice name.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. I agree. This advisory opinion is on the top view of the binders. The petitioner is Chief Legal Counsel for the Rhode Island Commission for Human Rights. The Human Rights Commission, as you know, enforces Rhode Island anti-discrimination laws in 5 areas: employment, housing, public accommodations, credit, and delivery of services. Ms. Hill requests an advisory opinion regarding whether she is prohibited by the Code of Ethics from serving simultaneously as a member of the Providence Housing Authority Board of Commissioners. The Providence Housing Authority Board of Commissioners consists of 11 members, all of whom are appointed by the mayor of Providence. The members receive a per diem compensation for their services. This Hill represents that the board typically meets once per month on a weekday after Human Rights Commission work hours, and she represents that the meeting will not interfere with her state position. The board governs the Housing Authority, which is a quasi-governmental agency. The Housing Authority owns and manages affordable public housing units and oversees the low-income rental assistance vouchers in the Providence area. The daily operations of the Housing Authority are overseen by the executive director, who reports to the board. The petitioner explains that the Human Rights Commission does occasionally receive housing and employment discrimination complaints or charges against the Housing Authority. To the best of her knowledge, the Human Rights Commission has not received a charge that specifically names the Board of Commissioners. However, they will be made more likely aware that something has been filed. The petitioner states that when a formal charge of discrimination is filed with the Human Rights Commission, an investigator conducts an impartial analysis of the evidence and tries or attempts to resolve the matter informally. She will normally not be involved in the investigation or even be aware that a charge has been filed unless there is a legal question by one of the investigators. She represents that in those circumstances, if a charge is filed against the housing authority, she will recuse from those matters, and the matter will be referred to the staff attorney or the executive director, who's also an attorney. She represents that she will likely also recuse in her capacity as a board member of the housing authority in matters that involve housing or employment discrimination, unless she is named in the complaint as a board member. She represents that neither the Human Rights Commission nor she has a financial interest in the housing authority, and the Human Rights Commission does not provide the housing authority with any funds or grants. Given this set of facts, she seeks guidance regarding whether she may simultaneously serve as a board member of the housing authority. The Ethics Commission has consistently taken the position that the Code of Ethics does not generally bar public officials or employees from serving on two public entities. Rather, the Ethics Commission has opined that the determination needs to be made on a case-by-case basis regarding whether a substantial conflict of interest exists. Here, based on the petitioner's representation, the review of the relevant provisions of the Code of Ethics and the prior advisory opinions issued, it is the opinion of the staff that Attorney Hill may serve simultaneously as a legal counsel to the Human Rights Commission and a board member to the Providence Housing Authority. There is no indication that inherent conflict of interest under the Code of Ethics exists, and the dual service would impair her independence of judgment in either position. However, she's cautioned that if any matter should come before her in either position that may create a conflict of interest that it's not anticipated in this draft, she should seek further guidance from the Ethics Commission.
Ms. Hill, you had an opportunity to review the proposed advisory opinion before you came today.
I did, Mr. Chair.
Do you have any questions of the topic or the commission? Or anything you'd like to add?
No, I believe she covered it, and I had an opportunity to ask any questions before the meeting today with Attorney Papa. So
Do any commissioners have any questions, Ms. Hill or Ms. Papa?
Just one clarification, if you don't mind, please. Your service on the housing authority. The housing authority provides and determines who is eligible for housing in the city of Providence. Assessment of the purposes of the housing authority.
yes, I would say that the criteria by which they decide if someone is eligible is not necessarily set by
And an individual who does apply for housing. Have you ever had experience with an individual also before you, the human rights and discrimination?
Not that I'm aware of.
And one word, what would be the,
In such a situation, I would recuse myself and the case, if I needed to be involved. If an attorney needed to be involved, I would recuse and the case would be handed off to the staff attorney or to the executive director.
go for it.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions?
I have one, just clarification. There is compensation, and how much is that compensation? Is that for some kind of? Is that correct? Did I read that correctly?
Yes.
What is that compensation?
I don't know the amount, in fact. I do know that it is under 100 per diem. But I don't know what that specific amount is, and it is, when we have commission meetings, it's the compensation for any and all time served at that time. So it's not an hourly, it's not a wage. From what I understand, it's a token honorarium.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Is there a motion to approve and issue the advisory opinion as presented by the staff?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Santorini, is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Browner. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, Commissioner Fuzi,
Aye.
Commissioner Strauss.
Aye.
Commissioner Browner.
Aye.
Commissioner Santorini.
Aye.
Commissioner Harrison.
Aye.
Commissioner Ritchie.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chair Commissioners.
That is the end of the sign-up sheet. The next item in order today's agenda is Catherine M. Crowley. Ms. Papa.
He's in the top seeing your liners. She represented that she was not sure whether or not she would attend the meeting, but she asked me to proceed in her absence if she's not in attendance. Ms. Crowley is a recently elected member of the Cranston School Committee. Prior to her retirement, Ms. Crowley was the East Providence Superintendent of Schools. She represents that because of that position, she has a vast experience with contract negotiations. Based on her experience, she would like to serve on the school committee's negotiating team that will be involved in the negotiations of the new collective bargaining agreement between the school district and the Cranston Teachers Union. However, her daughter-in-law is employed as a guidance counselor by one of the charter schools in the Cranston School District. The daughter-in-law is also a member of the teachers union and will be impacted by the teachers union contract. Thus, Ms. Crowley is seeking guidance from the Ethics Commission regarding whether she is prohibited by the code from participating in the negotiations and from the vote to approve or reject the negotiated contract. The Code of Ethics has specific provisions aimed at curbing nepotism. And one of those provisions is Regulation 1.3.1B4A, which specifically addresses participation in collective bargaining agreement. That provision prohibits public officials and employees from participating in the collective bargaining agreement. However, that provision also allows the public official to participate in the discussions to approve or reject the negotiated contract as a whole, provided that their family member is not impacted to a greater extent than any other person, any other person in that group, or individually. Here, the petitioner's daughter-in-law is a person within her family. Therefore, the code would prohibit her from participating in the negotiations of the contract. However, she will be allowed to participate in the discussions to approve or reject the contract as a whole once it's been negotiated by her fellow school committee members. However, we are aware that the general discussions can quickly devolve into a more narrow review of specific contractual provisions and that are likely to financially impact the daughter-in-law. Therefore, in those circumstances, we recommend that she recuses from those discussions. And we'll seek for the guidance from the Ethics Commission. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Since I don't have any questions, Ms. Papa. Just like to, for the record, make sure. She was given the draft opinion before today to review. She spoke with you about it.
Correct.
She agreed we could go forward without her.
Yes, correct.
Did she have questions and concerns?
No, she was, she would like to participate in the negotiations, but she agrees with the staff's determination.
So from your conversation with her, she understood what this meant.
Correct.
Anybody else have any questions?
I'm perhaps just reading this wrong, but the first paragraph, the Code of Ethics prohibits her from participating in the collective bargaining negotiations. I get that. And from voting to approve or reject the collective bargaining agreement. But then we go down to the response and it says she's prohibited from participating in the bargaining discussions. But she may participate in the decision to accept or reject the union contract. So it just seems contradictory to me, but it might just be the language that
Which
I'm
language
sorry,
are you?
so the first page, the very
Okay.
first page, so for the question presented.
The response.
Whether it prohibits her, okay, I'm sorry, I missed the word. But when you say the petitioner may participate in the decision, so does that mean she can vote or just discuss and then not vote?
She can discuss and vote,
She can discuss and vote, okay.
as long as they're not going into the discussion, do not go into discussion of a very
The guidance
particular.
counselors, okay. Okay,
The recommendation follows closely to the one we had several,
yeah,
weeks ago with the Warwick chairman, that he could not participate in the per se negotiation. Vote up or down on the contract as a whole because of the class exception.
The commission has opined that why public officials are not prohibited from participating in the negotiation is that because when you negotiate certain parts of the agreement, those parts may affect other parts and that might financially impact the family member. However, when you vote on the contract as a whole, in the end, that's sufficiently removed from any direct financial impact.
Well, and the key is that her daughter-in-law, I guess it is, gets no better benefit than anybody else under that contract, anybody else who's in her position. The equivalent of the class,
Right.
exactly.
The language is similar to the closet section.
my first question was, just a misreading. So-
Okay.
And then you answered my second question, so I'm good, thank you.
Any further discussion or questions? Is there a motion to approve and issue the advisory opinion as presented by the staff? Motion by Commissioner Brown, is there a second? Second by Commissioner Centarini. A roll call vote, Commissioner Susie.
Aye.
Commissioner Strauss.
Aye.
Aye. Commissioner Centarini.
Aye.
Commissioner Harrison.
Aye.
Commissioner Ritchie.
Aye.
The chair votes aye.
Thank you, commissioners.
The next and last advisory opinion on today's calendar is Catherine A. McMahon.
This draft is at tab F in your binders. Ms. McMahon has a continuing conflict on Tuesday mornings with her state job. She apologizes for her absence, but has asked us to proceed. I'd also like to point out a typographical error of omission on page 4 of the draft. The fifth line up from the bottom of the last paragraph, not the bold part. It should read accordingly. It is the opinion of the Ethics Commission that the petitioner, the that is missing. Sometimes we read it and see it the way it's supposed to be. And
And I missed the particular spot. Could you
Oh.
repeat that?
yes, it's the last page, page 4, fifth line up from the bottom of the last paragraph, but not the bold paragraph. I skipped the word that.
Got it.
Okay. The petitioner is employed by Rhode Island's Department of Administration as the Assistant Director of Financial and Contract Management. She is currently assigned to the development of the new state financial system, which has a projected launch date of July 1st of 2025. Among her duties in that capacity, she serves as one of the lead contacts for the integration of the state's credit card program with Workday. Workday is a computer software program and state vendor that provides the software that the state will use to develop new human resources and finance programs for use by all state employees. The state is under contract with JP Morgan Chase for all of its credit card services. That contract was awarded by the Division of Purchases and has been in place for many years. The state is considering the use of additional features available through Chase's credit card program. Specifically, the state may elect to issue virtual purchasing cards or P cards to state employees to be used exclusively by those employees for out-of-state business travel and or state purchases of under $500. Ms. McMahon is one in a group of 4 people who will determine whether to recommend to the state's controller and possibly the Director of Administration, whether the state's current contract with Chase should be extended to include the provision and use of P cards. Ultimately, the decision of whether to issue the P cards will be made by the controller and/or the Director of Administration and will depend upon whether Chase can successfully integrate with Workday. Petitioner states that the focus of her responsibility would be the potential integration of the P card system into the new state financial system. Ms. McMahon and her siblings each inherited about 1,000 shares of Chase stock from their mom in 2010. Ms. McMahon states that the shares are valued at $239 each, and that she personally receives a quarterly dividend of about $1,200 on her shares. The petitioner's reported holdings in Chase stock constitute approximately 0.000003624% of its outstanding shares, which exceed 2.8 billion. At issue here is whether the petitioner's proposed conduct would amount to her taking action in her official capacity that will directly financially impact her and her siblings who own Chase stock. Such a direct financial impact must be reasonably foreseeable. That is, the probability must be more than conceivably, but less than certain to occur. 3 advisory opinions which issued in 2008 are cited on pages 3 and 4 of the draft. These are the basis on which this petitioner and JP Morgan Chase are not considered business associates. In advisory opinion 2008-53, the Ethics Commission opined that while it may be a fair presumption that most, if not all, shareholders of a privately held business are capable of influencing the business's financial objectives, this presumption would not accurately describe the relationship between a large publicly traded corporation and its average shareholders. The petitioner in advisory opinion 2008-53 was a member of the Tiverton Zoning Board of Review who had inquired about her ability to participate in discussions and voting on a petition for a land use variance brought by CVS. The petition related to allowable signage and the implementation of a drive-through pharmacy window at one of CVS's retail locations. That petitioner owned 450 shares of CVS common stock, or 0.000003125% of CVS's 1.44 billion outstanding shares. The Ethics Commission determined that it would be incorrect to assert that the petitioner was a business associate of CVS, as that term is defined in the Code of Ethics. Instead, the Ethics Commission's analysis turned on whether the market value of the petitioner's CVS stock, regardless of what it was, would likely be impacted by the decision of the zoning board. If so, then sections 5A and 5D of the Code of Ethics would require her recusal. Using the same totality of the circumstances analysis employed by the Ethics Commission then to conclude that it was not reasonably foreseeable that the decision of the zoning board regarding the application by CVS would not financially impact that petitioner. Here, the instant petitioner is a member of a small group of people who will meet to determine what recommendation to make to the state's controller, possibly the Director of Administration, regarding whether to extend the state's use of Chase services in the manner and for the purposes described. The petitioner owns 1,022 shares of Chase stock valued at $239 each. Her holdings constitute an infinitesimal portion of Chase's outstanding shares, which number more than 2.8 billion. Under these circumstances, it is not reasonably foreseeable that Chase's share price will be impacted by the state's ultimate decision about whether to have Chase provide virtual P cards to Rhode Island state employees to be used for the purposes identified, much less the petitioner's role in forming a recommendation to the state regarding that decision. Additionally, based on the facts as represented, it is similarly not reasonably foreseeable that any of the petitioner's family members would be directly financially impacted by the petitioner's proposed official activity. Accordingly, it is the opinion of staff that the petitioner is permitted by the Code of Ethics to participate in discussions and recommendations relating to the state's potential use of the additional Chase services described. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any members of the commission have questions of Ms. Radicious?
I do.
Yes,
We don't have the benefit of, man before us sworn. If she were, I'm gonna by years. I agree with your initial findings. However, I'm a little concerned. She's involved with state contracts that impact GP.
Mhm.
So setting aside what you term as an infinitesimal amount of value, so to speak, shares against the total universe of JP Morgan's financial status. She could, or a member of her family could, engage in what's called puts and calls, so it's short. Based upon the knowledge that the contract is going to be renewed, or contract is going to be expanded, or whatever the case may be, or a contract's going to be not renewed. So there is a potential conflict of interest there, given the amount of shares she had, which is sizable, given the value to. So I only just concerned about that. And we don't have the benefit of asking that question, whether her or her family does engage in those types of financial activities, that daily, monthly, whatever basis. I think that's something that, should be taken into consideration in all cases of this nature going forward. Just an observation.
certainly. It's something that, oh, I beg your pardon.
Is it the issue, Commissioner, that no matter what she does in her capacity, the holding is so small that she can't possibly benefit by a
Yes, she
decision?
can.
Let me finish, please. Benefit by a decision that she makes and that will benefit in somehow JP Morgan.
You familiar with puts and calls?
Maybe with some calls, what is it that, what I'm getting at is, whatever decision they make is still not gonna change JP Morgan's income. If you look at it from the other side, there's just no
I
possible
don't care
benefit.
what JP Morgan's, I'm concerned about what she can gain by selling the stock short. If she knows that the state is not going to renew that contract beforehand, she goes out and buys and sells that stock short, she makes serious money.
Can I make a comment?
Please.
What you're speaking to is, I would just propose that that's governed by insider trading, SEC rules, and I think it's kind of hypothetical to assume she's gonna violate any of that. I feel like our issue here is our current financial relationship with JP Morgan, not a speculative one that might or might not happen.
Well, again, it's covered by on JP Morgan's side. Here, by the same token, if she's involved in contractual situations with JP Morgan, and it's, again, it's, I don't know how much is the contract with the state of Rhode Island, JP Morgan? Do we know that?
But no, and actually, I respect the point that you brought up, certainly. And I do think that it is a hypothetical and it's a potential branch off of this, but it's not what's before us now. And if the idea were that she would somehow get an idea that, oh, I'm gonna sell now because of this, that's not before us. And that would be a significant issue because she would be potentially violating section 3614(5)(d) of the code, use of public office for financial gain. That's not before us. She wants to know if she can take part in the decision of whether to recommend to let JP Morgan add one more service to the contract it already has with the state and it's had for many years. So I tried to just stay within, the lines of what's before us. You've given the petitioner potential food for thought, certainly, but I don't think it's part of this particular, it's too hypothetical in nature, if you will.
Am I correct, interpreting what you said, that the petitioner will not be the decision maker? The decision maker will either be the controller or the director of administration.
That is what she told me.
So she's in a more or less an information gathering and then making a recommendation. So I think that there's insulation there where there are higher authorities that are making a judgment whether to do this, and it's not the petitioner per se.
I would feel much better if she were here. We don't have that opportunity to address that question. We don't know.
The other thing that concerns me on, excuse me, page 2, and you point this out, it's a very small group of 4
Yes.
who's making this determination. So there isn't much insulation there if she's one of 4. So that decision-making power seems to be substantial.
I think the biggest question is what's the value of the program at issue? I mean, if the program will add $1 billion to JP Morgan's income, I mean, that would be significant. I assume it's not that big, but I don't know how big P cards are or what the scope of the
I'd
project.
like to know.
I think that's the only.
Yes, I will-
that's the big issue.
Right. I will point out that this particular advisory opinion was drafted based upon prior advisory opinions that issued. This opinion is consistent with the drafts from 2008. That doesn't mean that that's in stone for the end of the world. But that is what it was based on. The issue, yeah.
Any further questions or concerns?
What was the reason why she couldn't be here?
She works for the state and she has a particular meeting on every Tuesday morning for the foreseeable future relative to the state's changes, not necessarily this particular issue. Because I did say, when she said she couldn't be here, I said, should we continue it for another meeting? And she said, well, I couldn't make that one either. I suppose if you wanted to hear, I could tell her that and she'll do what she needs to do if she wants to pursue it.
Good questions, comments? Mr. Lucius. Is there a motion to approve and issue the advisory opinion as amended as presented by staff? Is there a motion to deny the advisory opinion presented by the staff?
So moved.
Second.
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Ritchie, seconded by Commissioner Strauss. Any further discussion? Hearing none, a roll call vote. Commissioner Susie,
No.
Commissioner Strauss,
No.
Commissioner Bronner,
No.
Commissioner Celerini,
No.
Commissioner Harrison,
No,
Commissioner Ritchie.
Yes.
The chair votes no. Is there a motion to continue the discussion on this particular advisory opinion to the next meeting of the commission, which is presently scheduled for February 11th, 2025?
Could I just ask for clarification? In order to issue an opinion, you need 5 votes.
We need 5 votes,
You need 5 votes.
correct?
So it would appear to be wise, considering the absences, to consider continuance.
Well, we certainly can't take a straw vote, so.
You certainly have the authority to continue it to next meeting.
Can I just ask, will you be able to, can you contact the petitioner to get an idea of the value of the project? If you know, my opinion might be different if I had that information.
Sure. The value of the project.
Yeah, like how
that would,
much is the project worth if these P card things are added to? state
Chase,
employees?
right.
Yeah, sure. How much is that worth that?
Is it limited strictly to out-of-state travel?
And what's called small purchases under $500, but purchasing people in the
But it's 14 to 15,000 employees. So
Yes.
that's right. So that's what I'm saying.
Substantial.
not all of whom travel or use,
Right.
make small purchases, just to make that point.
And you could present the commission with a new or an amended draft advisory opinion based on the discussions you have with Ms. McMahon.
Sure, I don't know. I would ask the director whether that would be amended or just start again?
Yes, but I think Commissioner Ritchie's point is he'd like to hear from her. So
Oh, I
I
will
think the
make that-
first question is whether she would be able to attend. And if she's not able to attend, then we'll go to a plan B at the next meeting. But right now, I think that's Commissioner Ritchie's request, is that she attend. So I'll ask again, is there a motion to continue consideration?
Can you hold that for one second, please?
Sure.
It may not be necessary for her to attend if, because whether she attends or whether she's questioned by you, in neither instance, is she under oath. So we have to accept what she says is gospel, so to speak. You'll be so kind to ask her the questions I have in terms of her, members of her family, any activities they undergo regarding stocks, trading, puts, calls, selling short, whatever the case may be. And they're satisfied with their answer, and you present that back here, so be it. I don't think it's necessary, Mr. Chairman. Her out of Ms. McMahon situation where she's gonna, cause a problem with the responsibilities of the state. I'd be satisfied with that answer.
Thank you. Fair enough. I just want to make sure we cover what you're.
Also, I understand.
If I may, at this time, originally, when I was drafting this, I did inquire of Ms. McMahon whether or not her siblings still have the same amounts of shares of stock as when their mother left them, or whether they have changed. And for at least one sibling, her response to me was, I don't know, and I have no way of finding out. I didn't inquire further of that.
Yeah.
And I don't think that I also am wondering whether or not whatever pertains to her, given the way that this was analyzed, would extend to them.
I'm not concerned about her. Shares she has, the impact that she could have as a limited member of a limited group who makes a determination regarding this contract, future contracts, whatever the case may be, and the totality of the amount. Those are the only questions.
I have one question as well. Did you have any sense that this is a decision that needs to be made short? Or is a continuance going to affect this particular project signing on of the cards? If we don't answer her question today.
I can answer by telling you this. There was one meeting already, December 16th, it's in a footnote on page 2, that she sat out under an abundance of caution. She was present, but she did not participate. I think it was someone else there. It wasn't Ms. McMahon that came up with the idea to come with us. Someone just said, oh, you might want to check it out with the Ethics Commission. I know that there will be another meeting very soon in early February. I'm also, I don't want to, well, I'll go out and say it. It would not surprise me if I told Ms. McMahon about this and she elected to simply. It would not surprise me. With respect to Commissioner Ritchie's questions, if I understand correctly, and I'm paraphrasing, are you interested to learn whether or not she will have information upon which she will then make use in order to sell or buy additional
Well,
stock?
I'm not gonna question her integrity. Just want to know if she's done that. Members of her family have done that. They would benefit the knowledge that the contract is gonna be approved, extended, whatever.
What we just asked, does she actively trade
Right.
JP Morgan stock or derivatives of it?
Or any other stock puts and calls. She is familiar with the puts and calls situation. That's all.
But again, you're assuming
Yeah.
that if the state approves this contract, that somehow or another that has a big enough impact that JP Morgan's stock price is gonna change because of that
No,
contract.
look, no. Again, puts and calls. Mr. Chair.
But the basis of her knowledge is whether that contract is going to benefit JP Morgan sufficiently that she gains from it.
It impacts the stock market, the total universe of the stock market. the JP Morgan has to disclose that we've been denied this, or this has been extended, this has been advanced, whatever the case may be. The price is going up, and therefore you make money,
But that's,
knowing that. That's all.
but again, what you're assuming is that the state's contract with JP Morgan will in fact impact the price of JP Morgan stock, which I would suggest that contract is undoubtedly
We don't,
a small drop in a
we
bucket.
don't know the amount of the contract, and I can only, again, say to you, when it comes to puts and calls, slightest movement gives back big money.
As long as it's based on what the person was involved in. But if it's not based on what the person was involved in, it can put and call all day long.
She's involved in the group that's going to approve or extend this contract, yes. Well,
Yeah.
there's the benefit to her.
There is no benefit unless that contract is going to affect the
I'm
price of the stock.
not arguing with them, puts and calls, so let's.
As long as she's just passively holding the stock that she inherited and she's not actively trading it, would you agree all
I
the
agree,
concerns are
I
allayed?
agree.
I can offer that the stock was inherited by her mom in 2010. Her mom had inherited from her late father 5 years before. And she has the same number of shares that she had when she inherited.
I will repeat, is there a motion to continue consideration of the advisory opinion for Catherine McMahon to the next hearing date or meeting date for the commission?
Before we go forward, your first request was a motion to approve. Now that failed, Mr. DeSimone, now tell me.
Well, it wasn't seconded. So,
It died.
no, he could move again. Wasn't voted on.
Well, should we vote on that first? If that doesn't, if there's no second, that ends it, correct?
There was no second.
If there is no second, it ends it. You made a motion.
I did not make a
You
motion.
requested a motion, no one made the motion. Let me ask the council.
Well, it was a motion, first there was a motion to approve the opinion as amended. There was no second. Then we went on to a motion, then you moved to deny.
Well, he asked for next one.
I know, but
I'm asking you this question. At the point where there was no second, what is the status of the motion?
the status of the motion is that since that time, there's been some, there was a motion to deny, which did not pass. There was substantial discussion. There were additional factors brought out. And now that motion can either be renewed, or we could move to continue to the next meeting.
So if there were no discussion, or at that point when there was no second, that's the end of it, correct?
It's the end of that motion.
Yeah, that, yeah.
It could be renewed though, because there's been an intervening motion,
No,
which,
if there were,
there was an intervening motion after the first motion to approve,
I
which
understand,
failed, and then there was additional discussion
based upon the second motion.
based upon everything.
My request for a third motion led to that discussion, because at the same time I made that motion, you again said, wait a minute, I would like to ask a few questions, so I'll ask it again. Is there a motion to continue consideration of Ms. McMahon's advisory opinion to the next meeting of the Rhode Island Ethics Commission? Is there such a motion?
I so move.
Is there a second? Commissioner Centerini's
I was
motion.
going to know the answer from council. We don't have the answer. I want to know whether or not, procedurally,
Excuse me, Commissioner Ritchie. There's presently a motion on the table,
Would
and
you-
it's been seconded.
he never answered
Excuse
my
me.
first
He
question.
did.
He never did.
No, I think I did, and right now, as the chair stated, there's a pending motion which has been seconded, so the next thing to do is to take a roll call vote on the pending.
No, the next thing is to ask for additional discussion. So if you wish to have additional
Yes.
discussion now,
Yes,
feel free.
ask the legal counsel again. Why are we proceeding on this? When there was a motion initially made, a request for a motion, which never got anywhere. And then after that, the chair said, is there any motion now to
Do not.
deny? But should he did he have to ask that question, or the fact that it wasn't approved ended right there? That's all I'm asking.
It seems to me that you were asked for more information.
Again, you gotta answer my question.
I'm trying to answer you.
Go ahead.
Right, it seems to me that you did move to deny, that was suggested by the chair. That motion failed, okay? During the entirety of this, you have asked Ms. Radicius for more information from the petitioner. She indicated she would go back to the petitioner and get it. That leads logically to a motion to continue the matter for further consideration, so we can get the additional information and it can be transmitted to the commission.
I agree with you.
All
However,
right, so that's where we are.
however, the question again. When the first request for a motion to approve was not approved, what happens right there and then? That's all I'm asking.
Since there was no second, the advisory opinion does not issue. And then we moved on to the second motion, which was the motion to deny, which failed. Okay, then, again, there was further discussion. You asked for more information. Ms. Radicius said she'd go back and get it for us, which logically leads to a motion to continue.
Okay, was it proper, again, in all due respect to the chairman, I have the utmost respect for. Was it proper for him at that point, after the request for a motion to approve never went forward? Was it proper then for him to ask us for a motion to deny?
Yes, absolutely.
Where does that say that, Robert's rule? I've never seen that. I checked it. I don't find it. But again, not to argue with you. Proceed. I should have died right then and there. Let's go on.
It doesn't die right then and there.
Okay.
The motion was not granted.
I said,
or
I'm
denied.
not gonna argue.
Well, you are. But we won't go further.
No.
Is there a motion to continue? Well, actually, there is a motion.
Yes.
It's seconded. Commissioner Santorini's motion, Commissioner Browner's second. Motion is before the commission. I've asked for additional discussion and Commissioner Ritchie has had further discussion. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, on the motion to continue, Commissioner Susie.
Aye.
Commissioner Strauss. Commissioner Browner. Commissioner Santorini.
Aye.
Commissioner Harrison.
Hi,
Commissioner Ritchie.
No.
And the chair votes no. Probably for different reasons.
Well, I think basically it's the same reason.
All right,
May I seek clarification, please?
yes.
I understand that this matter is being continued to February 11th. And what I am first going to ask the petitioner is whether or not she can join us that day. And regardless of that answer, I am instructed to determine the value of the project to Chase, whether the petitioner has actively traded since inheriting the stocks. And Commissioner Ritchie, I'm asking for a specific question relative to the expression puts and calls. What would you like me to ask her about puts and calls?
Is she, again, I don't want to question her integrity. So the only thing you could ask her at this point is whether or not her or any member of her family would directly benefit from this, does engage in activities regarding. Yeah, you can ask puts and calls. Yeah, is she familiar with it? That's all.
I'd like to make a comment.
Further discussion.
I express a reservation asking about her past activity regarding trading, her family's activity. Because you decide to accept the yoke of public service, doesn't mean you don't have certain privacy rights. And I think that those types of questions are out of bounds. That's my position.
I would just respond to that she brought this issue to the table. It's already disclosed how much stock she owns and the value of the stock. So I guess, I think it's important to know whether she's actively engaged in trading with JP Morgan, because that will reflect whether it's just a passive inheritance or it's something that she's really working to to bolster the value of.
Sure, but even if she is not, we've still got her siblings to deal with, one of whom, she mentioned that she knows that one of them has purchased more stock, but she's not in a position to determine how much or the status. And I don't think that's going to change. So, I'll speak with her about today's meeting and her request. And, we'll just take it from there, because even if she comes forward with every answer pertaining to herself, we're not gonna have facts about how it's gonna impact her family members. She's gonna have to make a determination about how far she wants to push this.
Vote has passed to continue the matter of the next hearing. The next item on the agenda is a motion to go into executive session to wit. A motion to approve minutes of executive session held on January 7th, 2025, pursuant to RIGN law section 42, 46(5), A 2, and 4, and then a motion to return to open session. I think we have to ask a roll call vote going into executive session. Commissioner Susie.
Aye.
Commissioner Strauss.
Aye.
Commissioner Bronner. Commissioner Centarini.
Aye.
Commissioner Harrison.
Hi.
Commissioner Ritchie. The chair votes aye.